There's a really good case to be made for understanding timeline jumping in your pattern recognition. And these are all really important concepts when you are programming your new reality. And and we're all programming. This is the thing. Every person is a programmer. In fact, I learned it in one of my conversations where it just dropped in because I thought I was just talking to the programming community, the people that know they're good workers and they know that they're bringing in the codes and they're connecting the dots in consciousness, and that reframing or the mapping out in consciousness. It was something that they're uniquely configured to do, which we are in a conscious way. But what dropped in was everybody is coding and programming unconsciously. And so but if you have chosen to do it in a conscious way, there's certain things that we really have to understand, because you got to get out ahead of everything that's presenting to you. And it's really hard to do when you are still in a linear mindset, and because things will present to you and we'll take it as, out picturing, universal feedback for where we're at, right? Something will come up and you'll go, oh, that's where we're at. Oh, cool. But there's another layer of even getting that. It's kind of, and I'm going to try to break this down in a bit of a different way. I'm going to give an example. When you first start going onto your spiritual journey, and let's say you wake up to certain ideas, your algorithms, personal algorithms, are going to start shifting. And then the stories that show up in your world are going to shift. You're going to have people, I met one girl one time at a neighbor's house. And I just randomly met her out of the blue. And I wasn't coding yet. So this was before I was coding, but I was meditating. And I had listened. So this is the funniest thing. So yeah, that's funny. Even the title is part of my pattern. So I had, I was really interested in Bruce Lipton, Dr. Bruce Lipton at the time, and Dr. Joe Dispenza and Dr. Gray Braden. And I was listening to all their videos, and this girl, this young woman, I ended up sitting beside her, at a dinner party, and we got chatting, and she was talking of something, and it sounded kind of spiritual. And I said, are you, do you know much about Dr. Bruce Lipton and the biology of belief? Because it kind of sounds similar to what she's saying. And she goes, oh my God, you're like the fifth person that's told me about that this week, or the last couple of weeks. And I looked at her and I said, well, have you not got the message yet then? Right? Like, I kind of laughed, and I'm like, obviously your teams, because I was meditating, as I said, I was available for getting some messages, and I was kind of chuckling with her. I'm like, yeah, go get the book, right? Or I did say that there was some videos called, I think, Biology of Belief, and it was the lecture number 1, and then I think it was divided into 2 videos. Anyways, biology, where he kind of consolidates his ideas in YouTube videos. Basically they were lectures, right? But it kind of took the premises of the book, and so I said, if get the Cliff Note version if you need to, or whatever. Anyways, but that was kind of in my pattern recognition days. I started understanding that she was a vibrational match for the next level of her journey. And there was enough of us that were also in the flow. And this is how, we were able to step in and give her those messages, right? And even if it was somebody that wasn't tapped in, no, because they wouldn't be recommending Biology of Belief otherwise. So I have to believe that enough of us had signed up to step in and to serve, right? We'll say in that way for her. But so that my understanding of it at that time was she called in what she needed in that now moment, because she was fluid enough and she was open enough to these kind of multidimensional, we'll say, ideas and the concepts. And so for me, I kept kind of moving along on my journey, and then other kind of synchronistic kind of stuff would happen like that. And it was kind of fun moments. I would chuckle with somebody, and like, I'll give you an example. I was, and I don't think I talked about this in another video. I've got so many stories, and I don't know how many I've shared live or not, or just in conversations with other people in Zoom or whatever. But anyway, so I was watching a video where these mochi balls, these green balls were being made. It was dough, but I didn't know what it was. And they were just, I just saw this guy whacking this dough and the other guy's hands, and they were going back and forth, wax, move, whack, move, back. Like it was like kneading, but they were working in such partnership that to these two of them, I was kind of fascinated going, what are they making? Right. And it was this big, huge ball, and it was green. And anyways, and I was trying to figure it out. I thought it was bread or something. Anyways, at the end, they turned into these little balls, and then I think they sprinkled icing sugar at the end. I just watched a video. It was like a 2 or 3 minute video on, I think it was on Facebook at the time. And going back, I was working at my art gallery. So gosh, that was a long time ago, but I think probably about 2017, maybe. Because my daughter was still alive at that point. So yeah, it was 2016, maybe. Anyways, I'm at work, and anyways, I come home that night, and we had been renovating a house, and my son's girlfriend came over, and she handed me these things, and she goes, "Oh, Deborah," she goes, I bought a couple extra. I thought you might want to try these." And it was those balls. And I'd never seen them before. I'd never heard of them before. It's like they got activated into my reality because I'd watched the video that afternoon, and lo and behold, she walks in the house and she's carrying these things. Like seriously, it was like one of those woo kind of moments, right? And the same thing, and I'll give you another example of this where when I was looking for answers to try to help Janelle on her journey, I found these videos online about talking to your DNA. And it was through a channeler. Lee Carroll was channeling Cryon, and he's all about talking to your innate and your cells in your body, and basically, mastering that within yourself, mastering your physical body that way. And I knew, okay, this is it. We need this. And so I was listening to it, and I think the second video or the third video, I invited Janelle because she'd moved back home at that point because she was doing some treatments. And so I invited her to come into the bedroom with me to listen to, I think it was either like I said, my second or my third talk of his. I hadn't listened to that many at that point. And she kind of rolls her eyes and, "Oh, Mom, no, you go ahead." And she goes, "Knock yourself out," kind of thing. And I go into the room, and I'm on a yoga mat, and I put on, and maybe I talked about this too. But anyways, it was, yeah. So if I repeat, and I'm sorry, I'm in the moment all the time. And so, yeah, I jump around, whatever's coming in. It's like, for me, they're threads of thoughts, and I'm just kind of trying to sort which ones are applicable in the moment. And I believe it's who's listening. So there's going to be some people that haven't heard that this is going to, I always say, bear with me, because there's something being shaped out. We've got different constellations here of thoughts. So we're connecting dots in a different way. So anyway, so I'm listening to Cryon, and the candles are on, and around me, and it's dark, and I'm overlooking the city. I had a beautiful view in this house, and he's talking about something about, I know who's here, because he's got this very sermon-y kind of voice, and he's like, when he's in channel. So it's basically Cryon is coming through, and he's talking about how he's the magnetic master, and how he knows, who's in the room, that kind of thing. And he was like, "I know who's here." And he goes, "I know where I am." And he goes, "I'm in a room or I'm in Canada." He goes, "I'm in," and I don't know if he said British Columbia or what it was, but I'm in a room in Kelowna, BC, or something like that. And I just was like, I was so blown away, because I had seen, maybe I must have watched enough videos. So maybe when I say probably two or three at home, I must have watched or listened to a couple in the background at the gallery, because I did do that, where I was doing emails, and I would I put a video on and just listen to the background. And he'd never said anything like that before. Never said where he was. I must have seen, I think I did go onto his website, because I was interested in like where he presented live and that sort of thing. And I saw his travel calendar, and didn't look like it was even in Canada anywhere. So the fact that this video said that he was in this room in Kelowna, BC, I was just kind of like, oh my gosh, wow, that was, so my universal feedback was really, I bought in that moment. He was my guy, and it was exactly what I needed at that time. And so this is how people kind of step in and play these little roles for you. But what I'm getting at is the importance of timeline jumping as with your manifestations, with your pattern recognition. It's you get to a point where you start seeing the pattern of, oh, I've been expanding my field, I've been activated, I'm becoming into more in alignment. So things are showing up in a really aligned way with what I'm interacting with in my field. I'm activating is I'm getting quick feedback or universal feedback, and and it's kind of a beautiful synchronistic kind of thing. But then you go into when you start working at that next layer, it's not just the universal feedback anymore. You're starting to look and you go, I timeline jumped there. And it's like I created that. And yeah, it's kind of like how do I explain this? So this morning on my phone on Instagram, I got it's on my computer. This but it was one of those shorts, so it was an Instagram, it was a vertical thing, so it was probably something created on their phone. And it was somebody who was showing the cover of a book, basically talking about how cobalt blue glass, it raises the frequency of your water and spaces. So they used to put cobalt blue in their windows and that sort of thing. Basically talking about the magic of cobalt blue. And then there was something else. There was a two-part to that video. There was two videos. Oh my gosh! So it was the cobalt blue one, and what was the other one? But they were two practices that I'd already done. So I bought years ago these cobalt blue bottles, and I was putting my water in it and putting a bunch of them on the windowsill and letting the sun heat them or transmute them and bring them into a high frequency, and then I would drink from them. But the other thing, what was it? It's probably because something I believed in, obviously. There was two, anyways, my mind, sometimes when I try to pull in these things. But I saw the book that these guys were sharing, and they looked like they were written like, a couple hundred years ago or whatever. They were old, really old books. And it was like ancient wisdom. And people are really excited about the ancient wisdom that's being uncovered right now, right? The thing is, it's because we're a vibrational match for the outpicturing, for the evidence, because we've activated those things in our field, right? And some of it is new evidence, some of it's new scientific discoveries that kind of validate, where we're at and what we're creating, that sort of thing, right? Where the new studies on food that are saying, butter's not as bad as we thought, eggs aren't as bad as we thought, and this cholesterol is actually good for you, blah blah blah. So there's a lot of things that are coming, I'm going to say, full circle, right? And they're pulling in those studies because more of us are in our divine alignment. We no longer have to have the bad guys out there, right? I'm hoping that makes sense. So I've talked about, I paraphrase a little bit, and I hope I don't lose people because I've covered quite a bit in my other videos that I now I'm going to do the short form of talking about this stuff. So if there's anything that that I've lost you on, maybe go and look and see if there's a video title that kind of might relate to that thing, because yeah, you can't go back and explain it all. So I'm just pulling on those threads now and kind of weaving them into this next understanding the pattern recognition of it and the timeline jumping piece. So these things that are showing up that seem like they're in the past, when you understand that everything's happening all at once, right? That there is no it's all outside time and space. And we know that. It's one thing to say, to read it and to kind of accept it as truth, right? Because, Einstein said it and that kind of thing. And we know that, astronauts might age differently, that kind of thing. So we've got all these ideas. But how do you land it in your life? How do you embody it and make it yours? Activate that tool within you that says you timeline jump, right? You have to look at those stories as evidence of this version of me pulled in that story because I'm a vibrational match. But that expanded version of me that is connected to everything and all that is, and I'm just a neuron in the universal mind. That author is also a neuron in the universal mind, right? And so we are essentially one with that, one with I am that I am, right? Um, we created these stories, and I'm just expanding into them. So my consciousness called that in because it's serving my story, the script I'm writing right now. I hope that's making some sense. Is I've chosen a certain set of experiences through my algorithms, through what I get excited about, and the universe keeps track of all this, right? Oh, she likes that, or oh, no more of that, or da 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 da. So it's got a, um, it's cached somewhere. It's like they call it the Akashic records, right? So there is the memories of the things that Deborah has, or all of us, right? Taken note of, paid attention to, given extra currency to, more value to. And, unfortunately, some of that stuff, maybe my personality would go, well, I looked at that a lot, but it doesn't mean I want it, right? That's the thing. So we're still creating there. And so the universe is still paying attention to that stuff that's still getting our currency, right? So anyways, so it's going to bring us these stories, and it'll show up in more modern themes, right? But sometimes it's just easy to make it show up as an artifact, right? And why? Well, why wouldn't it show up in a modern day study? Well, because we've still got this, a lot of light workers have this idea that ancient wisdom and knowledge has been hidden from us. So that's still a power of other structure. That is framework that we've got in our consciousness that says something is being withheld from me, right? And it's outside of me, and I didn't do this, right? It's still playing small. So we have to get to that point where it's like, no, there's nothing that's being held back. There's nothing that I didn't give permission to be withheld, right? Because I wanted to unfold this scavenger hunt in the game and have layers to work through. And so the ancient artifact level, we'll call it, that's unfolding in divine timing, divine order, it all is, right? It's still you. It's still you, your permissions to have those things be real in your reality, and active in your reality. So I'm hoping that lands, because there is nothing that is, the lies that you think you've been lied to are aspects of the one still. And it showed up in your reality in these mirrors that made them look like lies, but just to show you that you are still denying them the light, that you still weren't a vibrational match for that to be part of your reality. And it's more nuanced than that, because some of those lies, it doesn't translate as cleanly as I'd like to say. It's still an energetic exchange there, but it's presenting to you as a resistance, as a withholding, playing small, that kind of thing, right? Outside of me still has, blah, 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 more power, more manipulation. There's a manipulation happening, right? Well, there is in your subconscious, there's a manipulating energy there. You can call it your governance, whatever you want to call it, and how it's going to show up in the outer world as manipulation, as corrupt governments, all these things. It's just, you haven't stepped into a place where you've expanded into it, you've owned it, and go, I see you. Okay, yeah, I know I chose to put you there because you helped serve the structure of this reality. And we did want to expand within a structure, right? Because gosh, look what we did within the structure of our 3D reality, right? So those bumper lanes did serve us, right? You have to get to a point, though, where if we're going to start bringing in the new level of our consciousness, and we want it to be beyond, more of an unlimited reality, we have to let go of the permission for the structure of things being withheld from us, right? Because the super data, or what do they call it? The super conscious, right, is not going to connect in with you while you're saying stuff is being withheld from me, because you're not accepting that it's also part of you, right? So it can't be withheld if it's part of your consciousness, and we know it is. We know that we're all connected to the superconscious, right? It's just the resistance and the veils and the stories and the narratives that you've accepted, and the characters that you've created, the deep state, the cabal, the Illuminati, all these scripts that we've accepted, we're in accord with, right? There's a vibrational accord. They were given permission to be activated in our field. And so you can't wait for the outer evidence to say that they're no longer there, because it's an inside job, right? You have to wake up to that aspect of yourself first and go, okay, where am I still playing small? Where am I not free in these stories? Because I'd like to step in, and I'd like to access that superconscious, right? I'd like to have divine truth, and I'd like to see those patterns and know I'm timeline jumping, know that that aspect of me that brought that ancient artifact into this here and now was also part of my script. So yeah, so that's that piece where knowing that there was no coincidence and all those things. Again, I think I even spoke about this before in I don't know if it's in a video or just a talk. So I'm kind of, it's the more stories that I'm seeing in the outer world, the more I realize there's a lot of people not owning. Oh, this is the other one. Okay, this is a really good one. I think Barron Trump, there's a book written about him, or with Donald Trump, and and people think Donald Trump's a time traveler, right? Or Barron's Trumps. I don't know, one of them. I can't remember. I don't go too far down into these, but I get the kind of the Cliff Note version, right? So they are, because we all are. It's showing us they're in a different level of consciousness, right? That they're playing at a level of the game where they're outside time and space because they've given themselves permission. I'm not saying their physicality jumped back into that time and wrote that book, but they expanded their consciousness, maybe through meditation. I don't know, maybe they've got different practices, right? Or maybe they just pray. Who knows how they do it, right? Everybody's got a different way of interacting with your higher conscious, right? Or just maybe they came in with different belief systems, and they gave themselves permission to be more powerful, to be connected directly to the creator, right? And that's what wealthy people have, a level of, you can call it narcissism, but it's, and there is a negative, a really overswing with narcissism. But when you're balanced and you swing a little bit into narcissism, that's just somebody who they look like narcissists, but they're giving themselves a level of permission that most people don't, right? So be careful, because when you judge somebody for giving them a certain type of permission to show up in the world, grandiose, we'll say, what you're saying to the universe energetically, you're saying not that. You're judging it. So you're denying the light to grandiose energy, right? So then you're stuck playing small, and you're always going to be judging grandiose, right? This same with wealth, same with, any sort of power, figure, Hollywood, whatever it is that you are judging in that outer world, you are judging, they're just the head of the snake, but you're judging the energy. And that's the thing we don't, until you really understand energy maintenance and mastery, that's literally what it is you're judging. So that theme that's being judged is literally being denied the light within you. So it's not even active, right? It's got a low value for you. So it's going to be a dragging down cord. So what's the opposite of that? Power or abundance or wealth, whatever it is, the opposite is what, when you're putting it down, that's what's getting more value and currency in your reality. So you end up, these are low anchors for you. So you're going to end up in the powerless, maybe financially unstable, whatever these situations are that you are, because you haven't balanced it within yourself. So you've got to come into these, just neutral states, no permission, no judgments, right? And see what they're doing and go, okay, that's interesting that he's giving himself that level of permission. that kind of thing. So yeah, the time travel piece, it's very interesting. And of course, yeah, the ancient artifacts that are coming up on the planet, and anything that seems to be coming up right now that we go, um, you know, you just don't want to go into a quick story around they've withheld this, because there's the they that people are talking about in the outer world, right? And I'm not making them non-player characters, because everyone is a point of light from source, right? But that point of light came in to fulfill a certain, we'll call it a vibrational signature, to show up, because a lot of us came in to experience that energy from, maybe we came in to experience a powerless state, witnessing the power state, so that we can learn from it and bring it into more of a balanced state. So that soul signed up to be the extreme, to teach, because it's all teaching moments, right? Everything in the world, when you pick up your phone, there's always a teaching moment in it, right? It's just, sometimes we get, oh, something's being held here. Sometimes we get too caught up in what it is, and what our personality has perspectives. We know that, right? And it's, it it's okay. Like, we're working on integrating, like, your shadow, your personality, what they call ego death, all that kind of stuff. It's just an integration of it, right? It's not pushing any of it away or down or denying it the light. It's breathing it in, so that, and you can't be scared of it. That's the thing. Whatever you've pushed away and you've decided is really bad and scary, right? It's going to gather some momentum there, and you have to be brave enough to face your shadow that you've created there. And I do it in meditation, where I sit and I call in my team to assist me in bringing it. So we're bringing, I don't know if you can see, but my hands are weaving figure eights. So, and it's at our heart. Well, that's interesting. So again, if you haven't seen me do this is not me doing this. I've signed up to be in service. I get out of the way in terms of my physical feelings, and the energy flows through me, which is why I can just keep chatting and talking, because it's one of those things. Once in a while, I'll try to interpret what's going on, but I actually don't have the language for this light language. That's what it is, right? And I have one friend that she can read out all the numbers of the codes. She's a really, neat gal. But again, it's not even for us to try to decode the numbers of it, or to try to figure out, like, I know back here, okay, like, I know it's the ascension chakra, but it could also be the pituitary gland, right? Kind of opposite the pineal, so, because, yeah, there's an etheric, we'll call it energy center back there, but there's also the physical one as well. So, well, this is interesting. Yeah, just see how this shows up in your body, because I'm getting a real pulse going through right from my chest, straight through up into my crown. I hope we're activating our superconscious. Wouldn't that be cool? But I just trust that it's all divine. Everything's in divine order. And that's the key, is we just have to trust that when things show up in the outer world, that, the timing of them, it's not a conspiracy, right? It's divine timing. It's divine, right? We were divine. It was just, it's the outpicturing of something we were all ready for and available for in that now moment, right? So, oh yeah, that was interesting. I just did a big lift there too. So when I do the deep breathing, that's another thing. It's kind of like my whole body participates in this energy shifting. it, sometimes my head's moving, side to side, up and down. Sometimes it waves through me. It's sonic. Sometimes I'm just bouncing. Sometimes the kundalini is spiraling up. It just feels so different every time, right? Sometimes it's just there's an expansion, and I have to take a breath, right? Or I have to let it out. So that's the thing. Once you get to that stage in your energy, we'll call it practice, right? The energy is just going to do its thing, and you aren't going to get in the way anymore, right? You're going to allow trust and surrender, and that version of you, that avatar, that ascended master or higher consciousness, knows exactly what you want, right? And if you're asking for, I always ask for the highest and the most appropriate to be shown, right? And I don't even allow my personality to, analyze even what that is. I just trust that source, creator source, divine mother, father, know exactly what that is. And yeah, so again, lots of figure eight stuff going on. So the figure eight energetic is, I always say it's the Mobius strip. It's got masculine and feminine, and it's basically bringing together the distortions. So we're collapsing the pairs of opposites when we do this, and we bring everything back into the center, which is where we're integrating, right? So that's how, and that's what we're doing. We're integrating right now. So that is how we integrate our pairs of opposites. So yeah, okay. So something there, just got lifted, got integrated, got balanced. Just allow that to settle in your field, and just to feel it. Because if you can feel it, acknowledge where you feel it, because that's how you cognize it as being real. That's how you start to work your permissions for this level of work, your permissions for how energy wants to present to you, right? And you thank it, and because again, if energy knocks on one door and you don't answer it, it's going to have to try something else, right? And sometimes it's something in the outer world, and might be out of your control, right? So this is a really easy, I don't want to say it was easy, but graceful way to balance your energy field, right? And it doesn't have to be hard. When I say it, I'm not going to say it was easy, but it just took some dedication to meditations, and dedication to facing where I was in fear, what I was judging, right? I had to stand in a lot of I'm going to say take the middle path, and a lot of times where my personality wanted to take a side, and keep asking, what is this about, right? And yeah, and you have to be willing to be wrong, right? And because your personality is it's got flavors, right? And it's going to be on a branch of the tree, but somebody else is on the opposite branch, and they're not wrong either, right? So, but find your way to the middle. So you're not, neither side is wrong, neither side is right. All are, contributing to the database of the one. So, yeah. Okay. Something just got brought around there. I'm not sure what this is being held out there on that side. So, I'm just a recap for people that if this is the first video you're watching, your hands contain all the planets, consciousness, how you can communicate there, how you can communicate and work with your elements, because you are the alchemist, right? So they're all there. The numerology, all the gematria stuff, it's all represented in your hands. So your hands are a really beautiful divine way for you to work with your programming, right? And if you can, set an intention and let your hands do their thing, so that you don't have to rely on language to, you can start with some affirmations, I suppose, if you want, but because that's what the mudras are. The mudras are a fixed hand position that kind of were around affirmations. And so, yeah, if you want to start with mudras, because that's, those resonate. But if you can feel more, if you're a little bit more sensitive, and you want to start shifting and rolling your shoulders, doing, something that comes naturally to you. So I don't know if you can see, but the Kundalini is pulsing through me. It's going up. So yeah, for me, it's kind of a full body thing. And and I don't mind, because some days that's probably the only real exercise I get. So, not that I need to worry too much about it, but I joke, I don't mind when it moves through me, because it's me taking action, and taking action in a way that it's serving my spiritual journey, right? So, some people had to go out in the world and do a whole bunch of things, and, walk paths, and do, they do, what do they call those when they go, oh my gosh, they go on a spiritual quest. They do, but there's another word for it. Anyways, but, you know, we don't all have to do that. There's different ways to do it, to show up, right, in your spiritual practice. So, you know, doing your breath work's one way to show up, right? And oh, my hand, I'm just wondering if it's going to hit the microphone. Yeah, so allow yourself to show up, though. That's the thing, is yeah. Something got brought back there. Thank you. And just be grateful. That's the other thing. I thank my team all the time. I think I do it just unconsciously. Whenever I feel something kind of, it's like a little bit of space, or I feel something slip down, where it's kind of like, whew, there's a bit of relief or something, or light, or just fuzziness, where it feels like love, something coming in like that. It's just, yeah, it's just ingrained now in me to be thankful, because that is how, when you are thankful, you are a magnetic match, right? You're pulling in more to be thankful for, right? So, yeah. So it's a beautiful place to be. You want to be, that magnetic, right? That have that magnetism in you that is going to, pull in light codes and love, right? So, yeah. And so that, gratefulness really helps, right? So it's getting closer. Whatever this was, it's getting a little closer. So, yeah. So if any of you want to assist in breathing through, bringing this in, allowing it to come more into a divine alignment, because that might be what we're doing. And this is how we can assist each other. We work in a consensus reality, right? So those of us that can come into a heart coherence and just be in our hearts through these practices, we're going to be able to accelerate certain processes, and for us and for everyone involved. And we are we're honing and mapping out some of these processes in a way that we can all benefit from it, right? So yeah, it's coming closer. Yay, thank you, whatever this is. And yeah, okay, there, beautiful, beautiful. We've just integrated something there. So yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you for participating. That's one of those things where, we're you witnessing me and me witnessing you, even in this way, right? I know energetically that every person who watches this, they're part of the co-creation of it, right? And so, yeah, thank you. Because all of our higher selves connect in that the etheric field, that higher field. And they're all kind of going, what can we do? What can we bring in now that's going to assist them in what they're needing in their life, right? So, and you don't have to worry that there's going to be, some shadowy figure, getting into the circle with the higher selves. It's not being held there, right? So, yeah, it's you have to. That's part of your trust, right? Let that go. You have a higher self, and it is very powerful, right? And it probably drew you to these sort of videos, right? And yeah. So now we're bringing. So when we do things like this is as far as I understand it, it's like a harmonizing, or we are balming the field now with light and love in those areas where we now have opened up and created new space. So it's yeah, whatever it is that got brought back into an alignment, we're going to welcome it back. Whether it was sometimes people have soul extensions that have been cut off because they've been traumatized or something. So sometimes it's that. Sometimes it's could be multidimensional information, stories, part of that database that we've been cut off from, right? So, okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. We're bringing this down into Gaia. Thank you. May this integrate with Gracie's light, love, and divine empowerment. Thank you. And may we ground it in the most appropriate way for each person listening into the videos, or at the outside time and space whenever they find it. Thank you. Okay. All right. Thank you. So yeah, call yourself back into the here and now moment, because you might have, I know you probably had aspects of you doing some quantum work there. You were doing some timeline stuff. That's what I do. That's my I don't want to call it specialty, because I don't want to have an ego around it, but it is something that I've been coded to do, and I've been shown that I can work there. So yeah, so just call yourself back into this here and now moment, and yeah, we've got this. And yeah, sending you lots of love, and thank you again for joining me. Bye-bye now.